The air in the basement print shop is thick with oil and damp wool. You watch his hands in the guttering lamplight, selecting lead letters from the case with unhurried precision. He sets each one backwards into the composing stick, the metal clicking softly. Necronomicon. The forbidden word takes physical form first in lead, soon on paper, for a client who will pay handsomely for whispers. This is the story of the book that was never written, and the forgers who made it real for a price. But to understand the phantom, we must return to the man who first imagined it, in a rented room in Providence, on an autumn night in 1924. Picture this: Providence, Rhode Island, autumn, 1924. The hour is so late it has tipped over into early morning. In a small rented room on Barnes Street, a gaunt man sits at a desk. The only light comes from a single green-shaded lamp, pooling on cheap paper and casting long, trembling shadows up the peeling wallpaper. His name is Howard Phillips Lovecraft. He is 34 years old. His pen scratches, a dry, insect-like sound in the profound silence of the sleeping city. He is writing a story, a cheap, sensational tale for a pulp magazine called Weird Tales, something he hopes will earn him a few dollars. The story is called The Hound. In it, he needs a book, a truly blasphemous ancient tome of forbidden lore that his grave-robbing protagonists would consult. He pauses, the nib hovering. He needs a title, something weighty, archaic, and convincingly awful. His eyes, wide and dark in the lamplight, scan his cramped bookshelves, a classical dictionary, a volume on astronomy. He pieces it together from Greek roots: necros, dead, nomos, law. The Necronomicon, the book of dead names. He writes it down. Al-Azif in Arabic, he decides by the mad poet Abdul al-Hazred. He invents a brief, ominous history for it, translated into Greek, then Latin, banned, burned, lost. It is a prop, a piece of set dressing for his little horror story. He thinks it is clever. He believes it will be forgotten by next month's issue. He finishes the page. The story is done. He folds it, slips it into an envelope, and seals it with a sense of weary finality. He has no agent, no secretary. He will post it himself in the morning. He extinguishes the lamp, and the room is swallowed by a darkness that feels, for a moment, thicker than it should. He goes to bed unaware, completely, utterly unaware that he has just performed a peculiar kind of magic. He has not written a description of a book. He has, through sheer conviction of detail, created a ghost, a phantom volume. He has planted a seed in the fertile, dark soil of the collective imagination, and he will not live to see the strange and tangled forest it will become. You know that feeling. When you write something in a private journal, a stray thought on a scrap of paper, never expecting another living soul to find it, and then, one day, someone does. That is the moment that has just happened here in this. That envelope traveled from Providence to Chicago, to the cluttered offices of Weird Tales. It was published, and 3 years later, in a cramped, smoke-filled room above a New York City print shop, another writer reads it. His name is not important. He is a man on a deadline, chain-smoking, staring at a blank page in his own typewriter. He needs his story to feel authentic, scholarly, to have the weight of real, dreadful research behind it. He remembers a detail from that Lovecraft story, a book, a convincing name. The Necronomicon. He types it. His fingers clack decisively. He doesn't just mention it, he cites it. He invents a chapter, a verse. As the Necronomicon warns in its 3rd chapter, he leans back, satisfied. It's a stroke of genius. It lends his cheap tale the gravity of a footnote. It makes the horror feel researched, like he's letting you in on a real secret. You know that feeling, like when a friend mentions a movie you've never heard of, and suddenly you see references to it everywhere. A phantom enters the room. His manuscript is accepted. It is printed. And in that moment, the ghost volume takes its first independent breath. It is no longer just a prop in one man's story. It is a reference in another's, a shared point on a map that does not exist. A reader in Boston and a reader in San Francisco now encounter the same citation, in different stories by different authors. A question forms subtle as a shift in the light. Wait, have I heard of this before? The seed has sprouted. The idea has escaped its creator's desk. It is walking now from page to page, from mind to mind, gathering the substance that only collective belief can provide. And in a quiet library at Miskatonic University, a place that not so long ago was also just a name in a story, a young librarian will soon receive the first polite and deeply confusing inquiry. The young librarian at Miskatonic University was the first, but he was not the last. The inquiry was a pebble dropped into a still pond. The ripples traveled outward year by year to quieter waters. Our scene is a small-town library in 1932. Afternoon light, thick and golden with dust, slants through tall windows, illuminating motes that drift like slow constellations above the oak card catalog. The air smells of paper, paste, and quiet. A boy of 16 stands at the polished reference desk, a slip of paper held in fingers still awkward with adolescence. He has read the pulps hidden under his bedcovers. He has seen the name in 2 different stories now by 2 different authors. The logic to him is impeccable. If 2 people cite it, it must be real. His request is written in careful script, the Necronomicon, by Abdul al-Hazred, any edition. The librarian, a woman with kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses, takes the slip. She does not recognize the title. This is her domain. She knows every volume in the occult section, from the Key of Solomon to the obscure translations of Eliphas Levi. She offers a small professional smile and turns to the catalog. This is the tension, the boy's certainty against the system's silence. You watch her finger trace the carefully inked cards. Nectar Ned nothing. She checks under A for Al-Hazred. Nothing. She consults the publisher indices, the donor logs. The only sound is the soft shush of cardstock. Her smile becomes polite, puzzled. I'm sorry, she says, her voice a library whisper. It doesn't appear in our records. The release is a quiet deflation. The boy's shoulders drop a fraction. He nods, thanks her, and turns to go, the mystery now tinged with a personal embarrassment. He had been so sure. But the ritual must be completed. The librarian, meticulous, takes her ledger and records the request. Date, October 14th, 1932. Patron, juvenile request. Necronomicon, status not held. Referred to interlibrary loan. She blots the entry. It is the first official institutional record of a search for a phantom. The book is not on the shelf, but it is now in the ledger, a negative space given a positive entry. You know that modern feeling, typing a phrase into a search bar, certain you saw it somewhere, only to be met with the blank, polite stare of 0 results. That quiet doubt that follows. Did I imagine it? In 1932, that doubt traveled home with a teenager, but the query itself remained inked into a library log, a footprint where no one had walked. The ghost volume had prompted its first real-world transaction, and the ledger, like a patient net, was now waiting to catch the next one and the next. The ledger's footprint was not an ending. It was a set of instructions. The query, once recorded, began to replicate. It traveled from the quiet of the library to the murmur of the marketplace. Our scene is a used bookstore in Boston, 19038. Rain taps a steady, irregular rhythm against the grimy front window, blurring the gaslit glow of the street outside. The air inside is close and specific, the smell of old glue, foxed paper, and damp wool. The proprietor, a man with ink-stained cuffs, sorts through the afternoon's mail at a cluttered desk, a single green-shaded lamp pooling light on the letters. Most are routine. A request for a Dickens, an inquiry about a botany text. Then his fingers pause. The letterhead is from a private collector in New York. The request, typed on crisp bond paper, is precise. Please source any edition of the Necronomicon by Abdul al-Hazred. Price is no object. The tension is in his stillness. He knows books. He knows the occult trade, the real grimoires, the fraudulent pamphlets. This title is not in his mental catalogue. It is not in any catalogue. He leans back, the chair creaking. The rain patters. He takes up his pen, dips it, and writes a reply on his shop's simple stationery. The release is not a solution, but a deflection. Regret to inform, he writes, that the requested volume is out of stock. You may wish to inquire at the special collections of Miskatonic University. They have been known to hold unusual items. He blots the note, seals the envelope. The transaction is complete. He has not sold a book. He has sold a rumor. The name of a respected institution, offered as a clue, lends the phantom volume a new layer of credibility. It's how a simple suggestion can become treated as fact, like an urban legend about a secret menu, repeated until people ask for it by name. His reply will circulate among a small, eager circle of collectors. The ghost, having been sought by a library, is now being brokered by a bookstore. Each denial does not kill the legend, it feeds it. The book is not on the shelf, but it is now in the correspondence, a negative space moving through the mail. The deflection from Boston completes its circuit. A suggestion becomes a demand. And where there is demand in any market, supply will eventually be conjured. Our scene is a print shop in London, 1945. Not a grand establishment, but a basement room, its single window looking up at the soot-stained ankles of pedestrians. The air is thick with the smell of hot lead, lamp oil, and the damp wool of the man who works here. He is not a writer, nor a true occultist. He is an opportunist with a keen ear for whispers in certain circles. The request from a Parisian collector, citing the Miskatonic rumor, is pinned to his drafting board. He works by the guttering light of a single bulb, his hands moving with practiced, unhurried precision. He selects individual metal letters from a typecase, setting them backwards into a composing stick, Necronomicon. The word takes physical form, first in lead, soon on paper. He invents a publisher, Ludwig Prinn, Brussels, 15997. He fabricates Latin passages, nonsense phrases that sound like ritual, borrowing from real grimoires, to lend a patina of authenticity. The tension is in the act of creation itself, the meticulous, mundane labor of giving a ghost a body. Think of fan art or movie prop replicas. Objects that become real because someone, somewhere, decided to craft them. The fiction becomes a tangible curiosity you can hold, its weight convincing in your hands. He illustrates the pages with woodcuts, twisted, spiky things that suggest rather than depict, all done with the same calm focus as typesetting a grocery circular. This is his release. The problem of a non-existent book solved through craft. He prints 50 copies on heavy, aged paper, binds them in cheap leather, stamped with a sigil he designed over a pint. He sells them as a morbid curiosity to wealthy collectors, a conversation piece for darkened libraries. The price is high, the provenance implied. And so, the first physical incarnation is born. Not a mystical tome from the deserts of Araby, but a product of post-war London commerce, smelling of ink and opportunism. It sits on a shelf, solid and silent. A reader can now run a finger down its spine, feeling the blind-tooled letters. The idea has escaped the page entirely. It has weight. It casts a shadow. What he does not consider is this. Once a story is given a physical form, it becomes much, much harder to contain. A book, even a fake one, can be opened. It can be read. And someone someday will try to follow its instructions. The weight of a book, even a fabricated one, is a powerful argument for its reality, and so the inquiries, once the domain of curious readers, begin to arrive at the doors of institutions built on truth. Our scene is a university library archive, 1969. The air is cool, dry, and smells of dust and slow decay. Fluorescent lights hum overhead, casting a sterile, shadowless glow on steel shelving units that stretch into a concrete gloom. A librarian, her footsteps muffled by the vinyl tile, pulls a slender file from a cabinet labeled MISC Reference. The tab reads, in neat type, Necronomicon Inquiries. Inside are dozens of letters, accumulated over decades. The paper varies, crisp university letterhead, lined notebook sheets, elegant stationery. The requests are uniformly earnest. A graduate student in comparative mythology seeks it for his dissertation. A private researcher from California insists she has a lead on the Al-Azif edition. A man in Wisconsin offers to donate his copy for authentication. Each letter is a small, fervent act of faith in a shadow. The librarian's release is administrative. She sits at a steel desk, selects a sheet of departmental letterhead, and begins to type a form response. The clack of the keys is the only sound in the vault. Dear Sir, Madam, in response to your query, the university library holds no such volume in its collections. The work you reference is a literary fabrication. Sincerely, she will make carbon copies. This is the tension, the institutional denial. When an authority has to repeatedly say this isn't real, it paradoxically makes the thing feel more substantial, like conspiracy theories that gain strength from being debunked. The very act of filing the question, of drafting the rebuttal, grants the phantom a kind of bureaucratic citizenship. A folder exists where none should. The myth is now documented in the archive of the real. The letters are returned to the file to the cabinet to the silence. The official record is clear, but in the creating of that record, something has been cemented. The idea now has a paper trail. The institutional denial was the final ingredient. It gave the phantom a home address, and so the idea, now documented in the archive of the real, did not fade. It migrated. Our scene is my room, present day, 3 a.m. The only light is the cold blue-white glow of a laptop screen, casting sharp shadows up onto my face and the spines of books on the shelf behind me. The house is silent in that hollow post-midnight way. I am in that state. You know it, that late-night internet rabbit hole where you fall into a topic so deep you forget what's real and what's fiction, where the line between them blurs into a shimmering, intangible static. My fingers hover over the keys. I open the digital catalog of a major library. In the search bar, I type the 8 letters, Necronomicon. I press enter. The page populates, not with a no results found message, but with hundreds of entries. The list scrolls and scrolls, a digital avalanche. Here is a peer-reviewed article from a theological journal analyzing the book's fictional cosmology as a reflection of postmodern anxiety. Here is a doctoral dissertation from a university in Norway examining its linguistic influence on modern occultism. An eBay listing flashes, rare 1970s Necronomicon replica, leather-bound, aged pages. A YouTube thumbnail shows a man with intense eyes promising to reveal the true secrets Alhazred dared not write. There are forum threads with thousands of posts debating translation errors in the Simon edition. A digital artist sells high-resolution Necronomicon iconography packs for graphic designers. A popular podcast episode dissects its role in horror cinema. I lean back. The glow of the screen is the only thing in the world. This is the culmination. The librarian's typewriter in 1969 created a fixed point of denial, but the digital age doesn't deal in denials, it deals in proliferation. Every click, every view, every download is a vote for existence. The search algorithm, that indifferent god of our time, recognizes no distinction between truth and fiction, only between engagement and silence. And this fiction engages, it thrives. The thought is quiet but absolute. The search has now outlived its creator by nearly a century. Howard Lovecraft died in 1937, penniless, believing most of his work would be forgotten. He never saw a computer. He never saw his own name become an adjective. He never saw the quiet, unmarked grave in Providence become a site of pilgrimage for people who know the shape of his nightmares better than they know their own. Our story ends where it began, but not in 1924 now. It is early morning in Swan Point Cemetery. A low, silver mist hangs between the old oaks and elms, their branches mostly bare. The first weak light of a November dawn bleeds through the fog, turning everything the color of old bone and faded ink. The air is cold and still, carrying the damp, earthy scent of fallen leaves and wet granite. The path winds past larger, more ornate monuments, angels with worn faces, obelisks pointing at the gray sky, and then, in a family plot, you find it. A simple gray slab of stone flush with the ground, no epitaph, no grand inscription, just his name, the dates, and the names of his parents. The stone is weathered at the edges. A few dry brown oak leaves have drifted across its surface. One is caught in the carved groove of the L in Lovecraft. There is no mention of the Necronomicon here. No strange symbols, no warnings, just a man buried with his family. The wind picks up for a moment, a soft sigh that rustles the leaves on the ground and sends a few more spiraling down from the trees. It carries with it the faint, far-off sound of a siren from the city beyond the cemetery walls, a reminder of the living world going about its business. Then the wind dies, and the silence returns deeper than before. This is the final truth. The man is gone. The book he invented lives on. It sits on a shelf in the library of human imagination, a ghost volume between real titles. You can almost see it from the corner of your eye, a dark, unsettling shape on the periphery of thought, but when you turn to look directly, the shelf is just a shelf, the books are just books. And that is the most unsettling part of all. How the things we create, stories, art, even casual lies can slip their leashes. They take on lives and hungers of their own, long after we're gone. They travel down roads we never walked, and knock on doors we never saw, and whisper to people we will never meet. They become real in the only way that ultimately matters, in their consequences, in their persistence. The grave.